Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to declare this meeting open at 4:44 p.m. This meeting is being live streamed in accordance with Section 5.23A of the Local Government Act 1995 and with our EMRC policy number 2.2, broadcast and recording of council meetings. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we are meeting, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. Item 2 is attendance, apologies and leave of absence. So everyone is present. We've received no apologies. Item 3 is disclosures of interest, and we have received 2 disclosures prior to the meeting. The first is from the Acting Chief Executive Officer relating to item 19.3. He has declared a financial interest affecting impartiality associated with his employment. The second is from the Executive Assistant to the Chief Executive Officer relating to the same item 19.3. Similarly, she has declared a financial interest affecting impartiality associated with her employment. Do any councillors have anything they wish to disclose? Councillor Sazowski?
Thank you. Mine is for item 19.3. My spouse works for Deloitte. Deloitte is mentioned in the report, and it's an impartial interest. Thank you.
And you'll be staying in the room?
Staying in the room, yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? No? Okay. Item 4 is announcements by the chairperson. There is none this evening. Item 5 is response to previous questions taking on notice. There is nil. Item 6 is public question time. CEO, did we get anything submitted electronically? And there are no members of the public here this evening. Item 7 is applications for leave of absence. Councillors, do we have any applications for leave? No? Okay. Item 8 is petitions, deputations and presentations, and there are nil. Item 9 is confirmation of minutes of the previous meeting. So can I have a mover and seconder for the minutes of the meeting held on the 28th of August 2025 be confirmed? Moved Councillor Hamilton, seconded Deputy Chair. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Item 10 is questions by members of which due notice has been given, and I have been advised by the Acting CEO that we have not received any questions. Item 11 is questions without notice. So, councillors, are there any questions that are not specific to the employee reports? No? Okay. Item 12 is announcements of confidential matters for which meeting may be closed to the public. Just one moment. So the following confidential reports are covered in section 7 of this agenda. Legal update, Wood Waste to Energy Plant, Energy Australia. East Rockingham Waste to Energy Project update and strategic discussion. Item 13 is business not dealt with from a previous meeting. There is nil. Item 14 is the employee report. So we have 10 employee reports. And do councillors have any questions for any of the report items? I have a question on 14.7. Anyone else? No? 14.9 maybe. Okay. 14.9. Anyone else? No? Okay. So, can I have a mover and seconder to move the officer's recommendation on block with the exception of items 14.7 and 14.9? Move Deputy Chair. Seconded Councillor Hamilton. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Okay, so we will go to 14.7. And I do have a question on this one. So it just talks about through, no, I'm the chair. I just have a question in regards to, there's comments in the report that it is, that whilst we have a grant for $2 million, it still is outside of what we have budgeted for in this financial year. So can I just get some advice as into those figures?
Yeah, so we had budgeted around 1.8 million for this project. We had initially, as manager of engineering, we had put in a higher number, but it had been cut back at budget time. So our estimate was pretty closer to what the actual value came back at. So we've had to seek extra money to cover this cost for the additional charge.
So I guess my question is, if we have a grant of $2 million, why in our budget was it budgeted for 1.8?
So the budget is Wendy, I'm sorry, Wendy knows more about the grant than I do, but we have to put in the budget, or the grant is subject to us completing this work. We don't get the money. If we don't complete this project on our own, we don't get the budget.
Yeah.
Sorry, through the chair, it's a separate part. The grant is referring to another part of the whole project. This part here, with regards to the tender, is specific to the construction of the shade structure in the focal processing area. So the specifications that initially we went out with was higher spec, and essentially we're not going to achieve the budgeted outcome. The alternate option that was provided provides exactly still what we require at a lower price, and this is what we felt. Even though the underlying price is still a bit higher than what we've budgeted for, we are able to reallocate funds from other projects that we've had savings from, so that there will be no cost overall to our capital budget this year.
Okay, thank you for that. But so let me understand this right. When I was reading the report, it wasn't clear to me that the $2 million grant wasn't contributing to this cost. I assumed from what I read that this cost is like just over $2 million, but $2 million of that was from a grant. But now now I'm understanding that the $2 million is for something else, but it's contingent on this shade structure. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe we have to spend. I'll have to quote Wendy when she gets back, but I believe we have to spend $3 million of our own money on FOGO enhancements on the site. So that would have been made up of the FOGO expansion works we did last year, which amounted to $1 million, plus this makes another $2 million, and then we get the grant of $2 million.
So where is that $2 million grant going to be spent on then, if it's not being spent on this?
That's a question for Chair.
Essentially, this whole project, it reduces the overall cost of it. So it's not specific to this structure, it's the whole project itself. There's a $2 million grant that we actually have to co-fund as well.
So is the whole project cost $3 million and we get $2 million back?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
That's okay. All right. My next question is about the contingency amount of the 10% being included in the report. The reason I'm asking this is because I know that we've had discussions as a council in the past about a limb like this being included in the recommendation. And my understanding is the last time this came to us, we removed that limb.
That's correct. That's for the construction of stage 18, the cell. We achieved without requiring any contingency. In this case, because of the structure sitting on the land, there may be other pre-existing conditions that may actually cause it to actually increase. And we felt that administratively, rather than come back to council, we felt that the 10% would just allow us to see it through. We're also conscious in particular of time, because this grant has been extended twice now because of this. And rather than keep coming back to council, one of the challenges we found when we were planning this is if there is any delay, say, for example, we know the cost, if we hit, say, for example, uneven land, and we need to come back to council because there will technically be a variation, and that will basically stop the whole project, and that will cause basically a stop work, and and it will cause us to actually be incurred higher price for that variation. So just based on the advice of the engineering team, it is probably advisable to have that 10% just in case. We will obviously, I'm quite comfortable to recommend that to have this in the background just in case. We are very conscious of cost. We're not going to spend it unless we have to, and as evident in the stage 18, that we won't need a contingency unless something's popped up that is outside of our control, unplanned.
Does anyone else have a question at this stage?
Just to follow up from the chairperson's question, as I understand, the concern is that we don't necessarily need to, I suppose, disclose, put into the public forum the amount of a contingency. I mean, that's something which is, I suppose, a private matter. Is that the case, that we would, going forward, perhaps not advertise our contingencies?
It's actively controlled in terms of any variation. We have a review of any variation sought, and our engineering team will actually review to make sure that it is legitimate. It's not something that everyone can see the price and actually apply for it, right? The price is fixed. We have a fixed price contract here. It's just amount here is just in case that we need additional funding, and it has to be quite clear under the regs that we have to actually disclose that.
So the regulations require that to be put into the public domain?
Yes, that's correct. That's why you even notice that the fixed price as well is actually identified there as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions on this one? So I have a few other questions. I might come back to this whole contingency thing. So I guess just following on from your response, you're saying it's time sensitive, the grant is time sensitive, and so we don't want any additional delays if extra work is, sprung on us. So what's the actual deadline for the grant? You said we've gotten 2 extensions? So if we've received
through the chair, I believe it's December of this year.
Okay, and this tender is supposed to commence in March?
Yes.
With a 6 month, was it 6 months?
It's 9 months.
9 months.
But in saying that, the construction itself is about 6 weeks. They've allowed themselves a substantial amount of time to do all the planning, paperwork and stuff like that. So if that can be done a lot quicker, then that planning scale will drop.
So the actual construction is 6 weeks?
Yes. So the preparation, planning, all the paperwork is going to take, they've estimated it could take up to 8 months to do that. Or not, 7 months, I think.
To build a shade structure?
The shade structure, yeah, like I said, the construction is quite short.
Approvals for a shade structure is 7 months.
They're allowing themselves up to that much time.
It shouldn't take that long, but we've allowed ourselves that sufficient time.
Deputy Chair?
Yeah, just a question. So they're allowing themselves that amount of time. What happens if that isn't achieved within that time from the perspective of the grant? And can we go to the people that have given us the grant and say that, well, we're substantially commenced works and that we've gone down the path of approvals? Or is it has to be built by a deadline, otherwise we lose the grant?
Through the chair, yeah, absolutely. We have a very positive and active working relationship with the grant funder, and as such, they fully appreciate and they do support the whole nature of the FOGO processing. So from that point of view, yes, but again, we don't necessarily, that would be probably the last port of call if we have to do it, but obviously we'll actively work with the recommended vendor here to actually ensure that it's within time. We're very time sensitive, we're conscious of the task required and also the cost as well. So.
Just in terms of that, though, so you've entered into a contract with the vendor. Have they been put on notice that if they weren't to complete the work within this time, that the cost implications to the MRC would potentially be that we might forego $2 million?
We haven't contacted them yet. We've
Yeah.
not been in touch. We've waited until
Yeah.
this process has been complete first. But that that is something that we can bring up when we sign the contract.
Okay. Can I just ask a question about one of the attachments? So I understand that attachment 4 is confidential, but are the rest of the attachments not confidential?
That's correct.
That's correct? Okay. And in terms of the two options that were in here, option 1 and option 2, are they confidential or not? Just before I refer to them.
Probably in general terms, option 1 was the original, our original specification, and option 2 is a lightened version of that that still achieves the outcome.
Okay. So in that case, we're going with the scaled back option.
Yes.
That's the recommendation, is to go with the scaled back option. So is the scaled back option what we see in attachment 1, attachment 2 and attachment 3?
Yes.
Pretty much.
Yes? Okay. My question is, I don't know much about these structures, but I can't see a fan, and I don't know if a fan is a requirement in something like this.
No. This is an open structure. It's just a shade top only. So the walls are open. There's no fan required.
There's no...
So the wind blows through.
The wind is the fan.
Sole purpose is to keep rain off of the processing area.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Which actually creates the odor issues.
Yeah, because that's what I was worried
Minimise
about.
leachate so that we can process through the winter months.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions on this item, councillors? If not, do I have a mover and seconder? Deputy Chair. Seconded, Councillor Sosowski. Deputy Chair. Do you wish to speak?
No, look, I think we've thoroughly exhausted that, and this particular thing seems to be in order, save for the reservations made about the contingencies going forward in a more general sense. So, happy to adopt this item.
Councillor Sosowski.
Nothing to add.
Anyone else wish to speak on this? I'll just add, I will support this, but going forward, I don't want to be approving any contingencies in advance. I don't agree with that approach for many reasons. I feel like we've had this discussion before. So in future, if there needs to be contingency, that will have to come back to council and not in the initial report. I'll go to the move to close.
Yes, so look, I think it's great that we are getting these grants. It's a good proportion in terms of the money that we're committing and what we're receiving, and it all assists the circular economy, which is part of the EMRC brand, which we're continuing to cultivate. So I think this is an item worth supporting.
Thank you. I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Okay, we'll go to 14.9, council meeting structure. Councillor Hamilton.
Look, it's just a very minor question. It's probably not even worth asking, but just wanted to know, supportive of the recommendation, but I just want to know if there is a requirement for a discussion with councillors. How would the administration go about that? You'd probably do an email notification. Yes.
Absolutely. So there are a few ways. Obviously, it can be dealt with at the council meeting itself. But if you would like for request for further information, more than happy to provide that as officers, and we will share the response with all councillors.
I was thinking more of workshops if we need
Workshop,
specific.
yes, absolutely. We do have it slotted in the information sessions that we have on the second week, and we can actually utilise that as an opportunity for workshop.
Okay, that's it.
Anyone else have any questions on this item? Do I have a Deputy Chair?
So, but just in terms of this, I mean, the council is going to continue to be apprised of all matters, and I suppose this is more targeted towards avoiding meeting fatigue, so that when we do have to have these workshops or special meetings, we can have those and be a more nimble organisation.
Yes, yes, that's correct.
Great, thank you.
Do I have a mover and seconder? Move Councillor Hamilton, seconded Deputy Chair. Anything? Anything? I'll put that straight to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Okay. So, we now move on to 15, which is reports of committees, and there is nil. Item 16, reports of delegates. So, oops, sorry. 16.1 is Municipal Waste Advisory Committee, minutes held on the 10th of December. The minutes are as presented in the agenda. Any questions on this from anyone? No? Okay. Item 17, members' motions of which previous notice has been given. There is nil. Item 18, new business of an urgent nature. So, councillors, I do have an item of urgent business that will be considered as item 19.4 under the confidential section. Do we need to vote on this? No. Okay. Then item 19, confidential matters for which the meeting may be closed to the public. Yep, can I have a mover and seconder to close the doors? Deputy Chair moves, seconded Councillor Hamilton. All those in favour? That is unanimous. We'll now close the doors. I declare the meeting reopened at 5:41 p.m. and everyone has been invited to return to the meeting, and the live streaming will now continue. So I will now read out the resolutions. So for 19.1, legal update wood waste to energy plan, Energy Australia. It was moved by, sorry, I'm going to have to check with the minute taker. It was moved by Councillor Hamilton and seconded by the Deputy Chair. And council resolution is that 1, council notes the report. 2, council notes the advice from the liquidator Daniel Breedenkamp of Pitcher Partners, forming attachment 1 to this report. 3, council by absolute majority in accordance with section 5.42 of the Local Government Act 1995 delegates authority to the CEO to represent the EMRC's interest and vote on its behalf of any creditors meeting to be held by the liquidator of Energy Australia Pty Ltd in consultation with the chairperson and deputy chairperson. 4, council notes the amended delegation 1.2.7 in the delegation register forming attachment 3 due to the authorisation of the delegation. 5, the report remains confidential and be certified by the chairperson and the CEO. Item 19.2, East Rockingham Waste to Energy Project update. It was moved by the Deputy Chair and seconded by Councillor Sosowski. That 1, council notes the report. 2, the CEO initiates the required actions identified at paragraph 28 in the report. 3, council by absolute majority in accordance with section 5.421 of the Local Government Act 1995 delegates authority to the Chief Executive Officer to deal with all subsequent matters arising from exercise of the required action at paragraph 28 in the report. 4, the report and the attachments to this report remain confidential and is certified by the chairperson and CEO. 19.3, strategic discussion. It was moved by Councillor Hamilton and seconded by the Deputy Chair. That 1, council notes the confidential update. 2, that the report remain confidential and be certified by the chairperson and the CEO. 19.4, that item was withdrawn. So item 20 is future meetings of council. The next meeting is scheduled for Thursday, the 26th of March, and the time will need to be discussed. And item 21, declaration of closure of meeting. This meeting is closed at 5:44 p.m. Thank you, everyone.